Hello, everyone. So great to be with you all. I believe it may be morning in Australia right now. It is 9:20 p.m. On Wednesday evening, June 2nd, here in the United States. And so I'm excited to talk to you a little bit tonight about the idea of transitioning from social media to social ministry. And I want to talk to you through the lens of Facebook in particular. Okay. And so, one of the things that I think are so important for many people to realize is that, there are many things that you can use Facebook for, but one thing in particular is you can use it for ministry. And so I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to talk about keeping the faith on Facebook. All right, keeping the faith on Facebook. So, first things first, I serve as the head of faith-based partnerships for Facebook, but I'm also co-pastor of a church here in Florida. So everything I talk about relative to social media is rooted in my lived experience as a pastor. And I also want to say that as I talk about ministry, I'm going to talk about it in the context of a church, recognizing that your organizations are media and arts. However, you're doing ministry. You're doing ministry. So I'm going to give you some ideas using the church model that I think you can implement as well. All right. So first things first, faith extends beyond the weekend. A lot of times, I think, especially during COVID-19, a lot of times there are ideas that, live streaming is the most important product on a social platform, because the idea is that church is the program. But in fact, people of faith gather around the world every single day for prayer, for study, and for fellowship outside of the four walls of a building. And so because of that, I want you to think of your Facebook presence like it's your online house of worship. All right. So it's your online house of worship. And when you think about a house, there are usually a few structural components to that house. One is you have the front porch or the front yard. Then you have a door. And hopefully when you open that door, there's going to be a living room or a sunroom or a space where people can gather and have conversation. So I'm going to talk today about 4 specific tools that you can use to essentially build your house of worship online. And even though you, again, may not be a church per se, you are doing ministry. And so, in fact, you are creating an online house of worship. So let's talk a little bit about the first structural element for your online house of worship, and that is your Facebook page. Now, think of your Facebook page like it's the online front porch of your organization. All right. Your online front porch. Now, just about everybody has a page. All right. Everyone has a front porch. It's the public experience that people have of your organization. If people were to, happen to turn onto the street on which you live, they would essentially see the front of your house. All right. So your page is about helping you increase your reach. It helps you connect with your followers so that they know what you're up to. It keeps them interested and engaged with information and updates and event notifications and more. Your page is really about building your reach, okay? So you start by inviting your current members or current listeners or current viewers to like your Facebook page, because it helps to establish credibility. And that's why I said typically everybody has a page, all right? You use it to build your reputation. I recently read a study that said most people look for an organization on Facebook before they search for it in Google for their website. They look for it on Facebook. So having a page is really important. A few tips and tricks for a page, though, things you need to think about. always think mobile first. Sometimes, we'll see a graphic and it will look great on a laptop or desktop computer. But then when you look at it on your phone, the text is really small and the image is just really distorted. So before you use any photograph or video on your page, look at the image on your mobile device and ensure that the main subject is clear. Make sure that it's clear, okay? Secondly, engage with your followers. Respond to their comments and their questions and their messages timely. This is probably one of the most important parts of a social presence is when you make a post and people comment or ask questions, you want to respond to them and actually let them know that what they had to say was important to you. Yes, it's time consuming, but that's the point of having the page, right? Many years ago, a couple years ago, there was a change to the Facebook algorithm for pages that essentially decreased the distribution of posts on pages, which meant fewer people saw what was posted. And I know there was a lot of weeping and gnashing of teeth when that happened. But the reason for that was we really saw on the platform that there was a lot of content that was kind of being spewed at people, but there was very low engagement with the people. So that's why that change happened. Engage with your followers if you want to see that content get distributed to more people. Thirdly, you want to build community. I'm going to talk about Facebook groups in a moment, but you want to link a Facebook group to your page so that you can actually invite that audience to join and start discussions. We'll talk about that more in a moment. So those are just a few things for your page, all right? That's how you want to use your page. Now, let's talk about Facebook Live. So especially during this era of COVID-19, really had to pivot away from in-person connections to remote connection. There's been a lot of use of Facebook Live. As a matter of fact, we actually have seen on our platform that spiritual pages that are categorized as Christian or Muslim or Jewish, they are using Facebook Live to a degree that we have never seen before, all right? Everyone's excited about Facebook Live. But you want to think about Live like your front door, all right? It's just your front door. It's not the whole house. It's just your front door. You use Live to engage with your audience. You can stream events and gatherings so that people can actually watch them from their phone or their computer or TV. And the features that Live has allows people to interact with you so that you can engage with your audience. The thing I want you to remember about Live, and this is so important, is Live is not just about people watching you engage with somebody else. Live is about you engaging with the people watching you. It's very different than broadcast media, all right? I started my career in the broadcast journalism industry. And so, you talk to the camera because you're just talking to people. But when you use Facebook Live, remember, it's not just people watching you, it's an opportunity to engage with them. All right, so make sure you're interacting with them. Think about Facebook Live as you're opening the door, all right? You're opening the door so that people who are on the front porch can actually come into your online house, all right? You can promote your live event ahead of time. You can actually schedule your live, which is awesome, and people can join at the scheduled time. And when you're live, a pro tip is welcome people. You'll see their names as they come across the screen, as they kind of come into the live, you'll see their names. So just say hi. Hey, Sally, thanks so much for joining. Hey, Johnny, we see you out there. Thank you for stopping by. Make sure you invite your friends to come watch this as well. Interact with the people. It's so important. So 3 things, building on that again, engage with your audience. You can actually share your live stream across other pages and groups and profiles that you manage. And you want to encourage people to also share the feed with their friends. Secondly, you can build your reach by cross-posting. This is really, really, really important. If you have multiple pages, something that you can actually do is when you go live, you can cross-post that stream to other pages or other partner pages. And the audience on those pages will see your live stream at the exact same time. It's a really great feature. And you just access it in your page settings. You'll notice when you go into page settings, you just kind of scroll down on the left-hand side, you'll see cross post. And so once you click on that, you can actually invite other pages to cross post with you. So it's a great feature. And then again, build community. This is so important. Schedule a watch party so that you can actually watch that live stream content together as a group. Speaking of groups, all right, so Facebook groups. So we talked about your page, that's your front porch. And we talked about that front door, now online living room, all right? Groups help you deepen your engagement. They help you gather your community together in a space where you can get to know them, they can get to know you, and then everyone can get to know each other through conversation. The difference between a page group is that a page is public by design. What that means is a page is really for sharing information out, whereas a group is about having conversations between and among people. So again, relationships through conversation. You want to use your group to actually foster meaningful conversations about what matters to you and your members and your followers, your audience, so that people can actually discover common interests and support each other. A few tips and tricks for a group. First of all, remember something. There is 3 privacy settings for groups. All right. You can have a public group, which is just a group that anyone can see what's happening inside. They can see the conversations, whether they're a member or not. Then there's a private group that is visible, which means it's a group that people can find and search, but they can't see the conversations. The third type of group is a private group that is hidden. It's essentially a secret group. It's a group that people have to be invited to. So unlike a page, which is public by design, groups have the added layer of privacy, which makes them special. It makes them feel like a living room, right? People can't just walk into your house if they want to. I would think not. And so that's part of the reason why groups are so special. A few tips for groups. Make people feel welcome. So it's just like you would if you had guests come into your house. You probably wouldn't just have them come into your house and not say anything. They're going to come into your house. You're going to welcome them. You're going to get to know them, ask them questions. You want to make people feel welcome. There's a feature in groups that is actually awesome. It creates a welcome post. You just click a button and it literally just creates a welcome post, and it will auto tag last 500 people that join and welcome them to the group. It's an awesome feature. So make people feel welcome. Secondly, connect members to each other. As you invite people to join the community and as they get to, post about themselves, ask them about themselves. Where do you live? What hobbies do you have? Other information so that you can get to know them. And as you discover common interests between people, just connect them to each other. If you find that somebody likes fishing and you knew somebody else liked fishing, just say, hey, Sally, John likes fishing too. Or, hey, Sarah, you live in Melbourne, whoever, Jennifer lives in Melbourne too. You all should connect, just connect people to each other to build relationships. And third, and most important, the group is the place to facilitate conversations. You're the host of that space. Whereas on a page, you might make statements. The group is the place where you really want to ask questions. Okay. So think of your group as your living room. Fourth, and this is the last platform I wanted to share with you as you think about social ministry. Learning units is such a great resource, and it's available in groups. Think about learning units like it's your online classroom. Because it allows you to actually learn together. So units helps you keep your community learning. They're like education modules, and it's a great tool to help you organize and share content as well as resources. Group members can mark their completion of each unit, and this completion rate is tracked within your group insights. All right, so you want to think of units as a way to help people keep learning. You want to think of units, organize your content. So it's about building relationships through learning. You can use units for, onboarding new members. You can, onboard new people who have connected to your organization. You can train your community leadership team. You can have group studies, keep content organized. As a monetization model idea, let's say that you are, a radio station, and you have authors who, advertise about their books on the radio station. Well, maybe as part of your new advertising model, maybe you will offer to create a 3-part or 5-part learning unit based on that author's book, and you'll have it in the group. So people will learn about the book and they'll maybe purchase it. So it's just thinking about ways to use units that you can accomplish your objectives. A few tips and tricks. So something my husband and I do, and I share this with you because you might do this as well. So my husband and I, if he is the one who's preaching on a Sunday, or if I'm the one who's preaching on a Sunday, we'll actually break our sermons down into parts. And then we'll use units to help people review the messages sequentially so they can have conversations around those themes. How this could translate to you and your organization is, let's just say you're doing a 3 or 4-part series on any topic at all. You can create a learning unit, and you can actually direct people to your group so that they can learn more about the series that you are teaching on or sharing about. And remember, it doesn't have to be like spiritual. You could be doing a 3-part special about, the best food in Sydney. All right. Well, hey, if you're going to do a special about the best food in Sydney, maybe you can create a learning unit that features videos of the restaurants that were featured in your story. So you can use it in such cool ways. Secondly, the cool thing about units is you can actually see who has completed them or not, which means you can encourage people to complete them. In the group analytics, you will see how many people actually completed them. If they didn't complete them, who started them and where did they stop, which means you can actually reach out to these individuals and say, hey, we saw that you started this. So excited. You only have 2 more to go. Keep it up. Something as simple as that. Lastly, you can arrange content around themes, which is really cool. So you can create units for local recommendations, resources, recipes, member spotlights, and more. Learning units are built into groups. And so you don't have to do anything special to enable them. They're already there. So once you create your Facebook group, you'll just go in settings and see the ability to turn on learning units in your group. So it's super, super simple. And very, very user friendly. So the bulk of my conversation is simply to say this. Social media is powerful, but it has been used in a less than optimal way. I think many times social media is used specifically for marketing. Hey, we have this thing coming up, so let's post about it on the page, without realizing that you can actually impact people's lives by using these different tools and platforms and surfaces. And so I just wanted to give you some tips tonight to think about. And in addition to this, I wanted to just give you a few thoughts relative to how to use Facebook in a more optimal way. One thing that I notice a lot of organizations do is when it comes to Facebook Live, they're only going live when there is an event, or when there is a gathering, or when there actually is something to go live and actually broadcast. Facebook Live was actually created to just give people access to you and your life and your experience. And so what I would suggest is, as you're thinking about using Facebook Live, you don't have to go live just because there's a program happening. You can go live just to have a conversation with people, or just to share something interesting that happened to you, or just to check on how people are doing. Sometimes the best live broadcasts are the ones that weren't even planned. They're not produced. They're not polished. They're just authentic. And so you don't have to have like a really big production budget in order to go live. You just need to be authentic and have a heart. The other thing I will say, and I think this is especially important for those of us who are in ministry and have a kingdom mindset, is to remember that, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison, which is, oh my gosh, that station over there has more followers than I do, or, oh my gosh, that organization, they have more likes than I do. I think it's important for us who are really kingdom minded to remember that it doesn't matter how many followers you have if those followers are not following Jesus through you. So just be mindful that you have a calling, you have a purpose, and no matter where you kind of rank, it's okay, because as long as you are doing what God has called you to do, then that is the purpose you've been called to fulfill. And so those are just a couple of thoughts I wanted to offer to you, while we also have some time for questions. If there are any, I'm looking to see if we have any questions here, because I think, let's see, I think Luke is going to perhaps lead us through Q&A, perhaps. Awesome. Okay.
It's lovely to see you, Nona.
There we go. The one and only. It's good to see you
very
too.
much.
How are
it's
you?
so good to have you down under, even if it is virtually. And I know that you'll be straight on an aeroplane as soon as we're able to travel again.
Yes. I miss you all.
Yes, it's been a very unusual few months, that's for sure. And thank you so much for the session, by the way. There was so much amazing content. And the people are sort of sending some questions in at the moment. But I will kick things off. You started by saying that you should think of your Facebook page as like your online house of worship, which I think is great. And your front page is your online front porch. And I instantly thought, if somebody's coming in the door of my house, I want to make sure that my house is tidy, right, before they come in. And I wanted to ask you, how do you deal with negativity and crisis on your page? Because especially for a ministry, that can be kind of an embarrassing thing.
Yeah, well, one of the things I have long believed is that your social media is your opportunity to be a benevolent dictator. And by that, what I mean is, if someone has negativity, if someone is being abusive, block them. They do not have the right to use your platform to hurt other people or to spread misinformation. They don't have the right to do that. So you should feel absolutely free to remove people who, are being abusive and harassing. There, of course, are going to be people who just have questions and it's coming from a pure place, and that's fine. But when there's people who are just being mean, remove them. I believe that whatever space you have to protect that to the glory of God. So yeah, don't ever feel bad about blocking someone who is doing harm.
I mean, because there is this thing that people are more likely to say something horrific online than in person, right? So, is there things that you can do on your ministry pages that kind of can create a healthy, positive online community, outside of blocking someone?
Yes, I think you have to set the tone for what the culture of your page is going to be. Remind people why your page exists. Do that weekly. Hey, we have new followers this week. Just want to tell you why we're here. Want to tell you what we're trying to accomplish. And we are looking forward to you linking arms with us as we try to do this. Remind people regularly why you're there. And by doing that, what you're going to do is you will enlist others in the process of protecting your page. People will start to say things like, oh, no, 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 that's not what we're here for. That's not the right comment. So that community will actually monitor what's happening on your properties.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great advice there. Well, let's go to some of the questions that are coming in. They're coming in thick and fast now. Rebecca asks, what's new or upcoming, some features that you can tell us that we should be preparing for?
Well, it's a feature that was recently released that is still brand new, rooms. This is essentially group video chat that has been built into groups. It's also available on pages. It is a really great feature, especially right now during this pandemic when people are socially distancing. It's such a great way to have group gatherings, and it doesn't have to be, scheduled. You can actually just say in a group, hey, everybody, I'm going to host a chat this afternoon at 2. Anybody that wants to join, just hop on. And it's that simple. So it's a new release that I think has a tremendous amount of potential to help during this time. And so I've been encouraging all ministries to try it out. Our church is using rooms right now for weekly fitness classes in our ladies ministry group. And it's been going really, really well. So yeah, give it a try.
Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned units and using them, and you said that you can actually see when somebody has completed the unit. I wanted to ask you whether you and your husband are announcing that from the pulpit. Like, Jim, you didn't complete your units this week, buddy. Like, what sort of Christian are you? Forget that question. That wasn't a question.
No, we're not shaking.
Somebody just asked where they even find units on Facebook. They've even said that's a dumb question, but I mean, how do you even turn this sort of stuff on?
It's so it's available in the group now. So what you do is once you create a Facebook group, you'll go into settings, go into group settings, and there will be like scroll down a little bit, and like kind of in the middle of the settings tab, there will be learning units, and you just check the box if you want to turn it on. And as soon as you do that, it will create a tab in the group, and you click on that tab, and it'll walk you through the process of creating a unit. It's very simple.
Yeah, that's great. Sarah's asking, what would you say would be some of the top tips for how to get the most engagement during this time? I imagine she means the COVID-19 or post-COVID-19 season. She's got an 18 to 35 aged audience.
Fun. Make it fun. I think so many times in a ministry context, we immediately want to go to like the Bible study and like the prayer. And that's really right. Our church that I've seen other churches do. We had a ladies' night in where ladies just got together. We went into a room and we did like a scavenger hunt in our house. We played virtual bingo. Uh, we just laughed and had a good time. It was probably, I'm talking about retreats and the deluxe at the church. Like, it was one of the best gatherings we ever had. So, make it fun, make it intentionally fun, and then invite people's ideas, invite them to share what they would like to do. But yeah, this is the time to get innovative. And think about how can we just have fun together. You want to also, of course, study the Word of God together. That's important. But make sure you're having fun, because that's what's going to keep people coming back.
Yeah, that's great. I like this question. I think this is one that's potentially hard to answer. But Jim's asking, when is it reasonable to have a dedicated full-time person managing your social media? He's asking in relation to a church.
I think it's reasonable to have a full-time person when you really have a strategy that requires it. You don't need a full-time person to post content. And I've noticed that there are many organizations that have hired people to post content, but that's not a full-time job. The full-time job is actually leading your online church, which means coming up with the programs, coming up with the actual resourcing guides, and figuring out how to actually disciple people. That's a full-time job. Creating content and posting content is not. So once it becomes more robust, that will make sense. I have a book actually coming out June 23rd called From Social Media to Social Ministry that talks about this. There's an entire chapter dedicated how to set up an online leadership team, because there are some positions that can absolutely be full. They don't even require staffing.
Yeah, that's great. We're battling internet a little bit today, and somebody's asking whether there'll be a handout for this presentation. Can we get some of the notes written out, Nona, for people who maybe are missing it because of internet connection?
Sure. Yeah, I'll make sure I'll provide the presentation deck.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I like this question because we're all doing more live Facebook feeds than ever before. In fact, right now, my radio team are doing a 40-hour broadcast live. The whole thing is streamed. And we're using cameras that we have up in our studio, that vision switch. But what gear is needed to start doing live Facebook if you have never done it before?
Honestly, it's an internet-enabled device, as internet and a webcam. That's literally all that you need. And of course, a Facebook account or something like that. But if you really want to make it a little bit more polished, then you want to have some lighting. It could be as simple as a ring light. And you want the light to be on your face. I've had some people have lighting behind them, and that just makes them dark. So you want the lighting on your face. And if you want a microphone, that's great too, but that's not required because these devices have microphones built in. And if you're going to use a cell phone, I just recommend that you have some iPod or apparatus of some type. It will be simple. But that's really all you need. A huge setup. A lot of the work that I do, and I do a lot of recording, I do a lot of it with this. My phone. Don't feel you don't have all the cameras and lights and a few pieces of equipment.
That's great. Yeah, we did miss a little bit of that, but yeah, thank you for talking about that. And yes, I wish that I had such a beautifully lit face as you do today, although there are some things you really don't want to highlight too much, that's for sure. Rebecca's asking, can you set up bots to automate responses to people as they work through the learning units?
So bots are not currently available in groups, but you can, of course, use them on your page. You can set up bots to direct people to your group in order to take learning units, but you can't currently set them up in groups. That may happen down the line, but not currently.
That's great. Thank you so much, Nona. Thank you so much for your time. I just remind everybody that tomorrow in the session at 1 p.m., Stu Harris is going to be joined by Rod Hopping, and we'll be presenting the Pilgrim Graham Wade Media Prize for 2020. It's a $10,000 cash prize, which is nice, and it's awarded to outstanding media projects which are promoting and or communicating the gospel in the prior calendar year. So make sure you join us tomorrow during the 1 p.m. session where the finalists will be announced, followed by the winner for 2020. Nona Jones, thank you very, very much. I'm sorry we were battling the internet today, but as usual, just so much gold, so much wisdom, and we really appreciate your time.